Here, Kate.
Hi, everybody. Miss you. All I heard was more, more, more.
Well, they all frowned when you said,
Oh, I'm sure. All right, hang on one second. Oh, good grief. Sorry, everybody. Hang on. Best laid plans here. All right, let's try it now. Oh, yes. All right, Guy, you're good to go. So I'm going to hand the reins over to John.
All right. Good morning, Guy. Good morning, Kate. It was good to hear your voice. Welcome, everyone. Those students in the room here at the Annex in Life of Learning who are here for our class with Guy, and for those students joining us online and on Facebook, YouTube, and GoToWebinar. We're glad that you're here for our session this morning. If you're new here, the format of our online classes with Guy is in a moment. Guy will present a 60-minute talk to us on the topic that you see below. When he's finished, we take a short break just to stretch for a little bit and for a few announcements and news. And then the second part of class is one in which we have an open dialogue with Guy, a discussion in which the students in the room and those of you online have an opportunity to talk with Guy and to ask questions either about the material that he just presented or about anything that has come up in your inner work, your spiritual life, and together that discussion always enriches the learning of all of us. And so our session will last about to 11:30, depending on the participation in our discussion. So we hope you can stay for the whole session, and if not, again, these sessions are always being recorded, and they go into our archives on our various channels. So, Guy, I think we're ready to get started. Would you like me to read the topic and key lesson for you?
yes, please.
All right. Take a nice deep breath. Our topic this morning, everyone, is transform the fear of feeling empty into freedom from fear. And here is the first key lesson. No one wants to be touched by the hand of suffering. So millions spend billions trying to escape what they see as something raining on their parade. And yet, their fear is as misplaced as the misunderstanding that creates it. And here's why. Into every life must come some rain, for without it, what else can a heart become other than a desert that never blooms? All right, Guy, turn it over to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to everyone joining us wherever you are in the world, whatever day, time it may be, and of course to the students who are gathered in our annex building at the foundation. Ever so briefly, my wife and I are moving to Florida, where the foundation will continue as it will here in Southern Oregon. But because of the transition, we're not in the usual place filming, and I'm doing this talk online and streaming it as I'm talking to men and women in the room. And so I must divide my attention properly between you who are joining me and then you who are watching me look out like I'm not paying attention to you. I'm paying attention to everyone else. So please bear with me if that becomes unseemly in some way. I have something really big to show you today. It's my wish every time we meet to, if you will, help each and all of us crack that door between worlds, between this life that we have on this earth and the possibility of another order of existence, what is timeless, based in love, so that we can see a little bit more clearly not just the fact that what our heart of hearts hopes for exists, but that with the clarity of seeing what awaits us to see what stands in our way of realizing it. And in order to realize what awaits us, we must have a greater and greater understanding of this nature as it is, that is dedicated to interfering. Not because it has some dedicated wish to interfere. It is the nature itself of this consciousness to be divided, to be fragmented, to be constantly in conflict. And our identity is a ceaseless derivation of this conflict that goes on within us that we don't understand at all, because it's the only way we know to meet life. But think of this. If conflict in the heart and mind was unnatural, why does it feel unnatural to us when it's there? And it does. And it feels unnatural because we have a foot, if you will, in another world, in the kingdom of heaven, where unity is the prescription instead of being a prisoner of an unconscious nature. So with this in mind, let's look at this big picture. You will have to, I know it's hard to do, you're going to have to actually stay awake, and you're going to have to actually listen. You're going to have to put aside the part of you that wants to say, no, I don't understand that. Don't get lost in misunderstanding. It is a misunderstanding to get lost in misunderstanding. What? As above, so below. You've heard that, as within, so without. We live in a world that has 4 seasons, do we not? Yes. We have the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. We have a time of rebirth. We have a time of fulfillment. We have a time of harvesting. And then we have a time of stillness and silence. We can see this in the world. Some of us can't stand the last part, the stillness, the silence, no life anywhere, nothing green, everything cold. So if you were going to say which one of these seasons bothers you the most, which one, if you were honest, most of us would have to agree that there's something about the difficulty of this season that seems void of everything, where, especially in major parts of the world, you can't go out. I want to look at this with you, because as paradoxical as it sounds, and it is paradoxical, this moment of what we are calling the season of what? The season of stillness, but for the sake of our talk, a season of emptiness, a season of what seems to be the absence of life. It is in that very season itself where we presently experience this sense of emptiness as some kind of loss. And because of the sense of loss, some sense of fear, it is in that season itself that we can find life. That we will find that life is as present in that season as it is in the other seasons that seem to be filled with life. And the purpose of this talk, well in advance for most of you of the time when it will be necessary, is for you to get to a place where at least you're willing, instead of fearing that sense of loneliness and emptiness, that sense of despair that visits the soul when everything is dark. So when that dark night of the soul comes, and it is inescapable in scale, that you have some modicum of understanding to meet that moment with, instead of this part of ourselves that mechanically meets any moment that it fears with resistance to it, because that will ensure that you will never know what rebirth is. Because without that emptiness, there is no rebirth. Everything that is born comes out of an emptiness we don't understand. And because we avoid that emptiness, that moment where everything seems dark, so it is to the degree of that avoidance and resistance we miss out on the possibility of knowing what it means to be a reborn human being. Do you understand the premise for our talk today? Do not most of us spend our time trying to stay one step ahead of what we think is going to be painful? I mean, doesn't that pretty much sum it up? How many of you are losing a step? We resist endings. Do we not? And I'm not just talking about the end of someone's life that you love. I resist the end of my ability to hit a drive 275 yards. I resist seeing that I am in a relationship with a moment where my energy isn't sufficient the way it was even the day before. Something's ending. Do you get the feeling as you get older something's ending? Nothing ends that something doesn't begin, but you're never where it begins because you're always avoiding the fear of what you think is ending. And until you have that understanding, which is not intellectual, I said this yesterday because I so love the notion of it. We have all of these stories. Most religions are nothing but stories created by human beings to deal with the fear of death, the fear of not being able to understand what in the name of God is happening. Why is this? Why is that? Why did they? And because we want to explain the inexplicable, we come up with stories, with myths. That doesn't mean that there isn't a true religion, but not in the name of a particular God. Religion in the sense of being reconnected to an understanding that never disappears into a fear. Your understanding, what you call your love of God, of Christ, of Buddha, whatever it may be, every time something comes that you don't want, and suddenly there you are feeling this emptiness inside of yourself, this loneliness, this anxiety. Where did your God go when you're anxious? You won't ask yourself your question in that moment. Do you know why? Because another God has come in and taken the place of it. And that's the God of fear. And the God of fear is made in the image of human beings, in the image of an unconscious nature that first created what would save it, a story, an idea. And when that story proves itself empty, again, as it always will, incomplete, where do I do? What do I turn to? A story maker. Something to help me get through one more time. Help me make it through the night. Take this ribbon from my hair. Most of you don't know that song, but it's another one of anyone, anything to make it through the night. You won't really understand what a spiritual life is like until you understand that the night doesn't exist from the dawn that breaks it. That they are a singularity, that they move into and out of one another, but not in time, but as a ceaseless revelation of a different order of being in which that is never not taking place. You following me? So there is an old saying, how many of you know it? Into every life, a little what must fall? Why did it have to rain? I'm not just talking physically. Why did you have to change your mind? Why did you have to say that? Why did they do those things? What does that mean? Every time a fear asks a question, it asks it because something has rained on your parade. And isn't every question a wish to understand why did it do that? Not what is the nature of this rain, not what is the nature of this darkness that suddenly surrounds me, but rather what caused it, because now I'm going to bring a light into it, a figment of my imagination, and illuminate that so I don't have to have any more rain in my life. Yes or no? How many of you still have like a dozen umbrellas and there's never enough? What if that rain, what if that moment of emptiness, the onset of that darkness, which is what, have you ever thought, what is it that I fear in the darkness? You understand the metaphor? What is it that I fear in the moment of darkness? Please, be alive. At least pretend to be. I can't see past it. There's no future in the darkness. Is there? For those of you that are interested, this will help you understand something of Saul's conversion into Paul on the road to Damascus. Suddenly this great darkness, but in this great darkness a light. And the light was that I can't see past Paul. I can't see past Saul. Saul's life is over. Whose life is there? Again, you have to go through this if you want to. It's too much to go into in a single talk. What if that darkness, what if that rain that comes seemingly out of nowhere is exactly what the soul needs to prepare itself for some form of new flowering? Because if you examine your life, if you've been fortunate at all by grace to have these moments of rain, of this darkness, and for whatever reason you couldn't run, you couldn't make a new plan, I'm not going on this vacation, I'm not going to go buy that, I'm not going to go argue with somebody. If you actually stood there, stayed there long enough, suddenly out of that darkness, something was revealed, wasn't it? And it couldn't have been revealed in any other way. Were it not for the fact that you didn't want that moment, it came anyway. Have you noticed God doesn't really care what you want? It's an important thing for you to notice, because your God is what you want, and your God betrays you every time it takes from you what you thought you had to be happy. You want to write something down that maybe will help you someday. God is good and God only gives. But the giving of God is like the seasons that he gives, is that everything must come and everything must become something else. So that what is given is designed to become something else, as you are meant to become someone else when these moments of rain or darkness appear in your life. Still with me? How do we know that that's true? We're going to look at this idea of emptiness through the eyes of a new order of understanding so that we can begin to realize that it is in fact that out of this very darkness, out of this sudden sense of emptiness, of loss, that contained within it is that which has already transcended it. But you must be in that place where that's unfolding in order to discover the transcendent nature that God has given you, that understands it isn't a prisoner of these moments, it's a participant in that creation itself. Please? Let's bring up the second key lesson, whoever is out there bringing up key lessons. There it is. I will read it to you. I know that you can't see it on the stream. I guess webinar people can see it, but those in the room can't. And if you're live streaming, you can't see it. But I'm going to read it slowly. Let its meaning fall on you like rain would on a seed that is waiting to burst. Everyone longs to be like a butterfly, to be somewhat like the caterpillar that's created to shed its cumbersome body and be reborn with wings. Just stop there for a second. Do you not long to be like a butterfly? Now, why in the name? What's wrong with being a caterpillar? Other than you're always tripping over your own legs and consigned to crawl on the ground. I mean, there's something in us that longs. Why do you look up at birds? I was talking with somebody about how pelicans, how beautiful they glide over the water. Everyone longs to be like a butterfly. It's a metaphor, isn't it? But nobody wants to enter into a darkness, to be enclosed in what it can't understand, let alone remain within it, alone until the transformation it heralds is complete. Now, I know I'm not asking you to do that thing, anthropomorphize a caterpillar's life. But you can see, because it's not the only instance, the seed lays in the ground in the dark alone until comes the radiant warmth and the water that causes it to break out of its husk, so that the life contained in the darkness that did not know the darkness that did not know the life it held within it, suddenly it comes out. But that's where it starts. So that everything starts there. In the beginning, darkness was upon the face of the earth. You can find endless revelations through Scripture of all levels that a person begins to understand, and then let there be light. The light dwells in the darkness doesn't understand it at all. We don't understand the darkness because we think we are the light that resists its appearance. Please? So what I want to look at with you is that this idea in that key lesson, that like that caterpillar that has to go into that catalyst, that fascinating enough, the butterfly doesn't spin the cocoon. The caterpillar does it itself because it's created to do that. It's not going, sweet God, what am I doing? What's happening? What is this? What's this darkness that I'm enveloping myself in? That's not what happens. It follows a natural set of laws that are required to be fulfilled so that as that darkness consumes its light, in that darkness it can go through a metamorphosis of something that requires that isolation, that emptiness, the disappearance of all impression and experience, so that something can come up from within that caterpillar that allows it to shed itself and then enter into its soul, if you will, its higher life, just as we are intended to do the same. So what is this metaphor? How do we connect this idea? I have to just take a second. We might go a little longer. Today, I have one more Sunday here with you in Oregon. I'll always be with you. But so I might take a little more time on our Sundays, this and next on the 17th. How is it that we see but do not see the following? Everything in our life appears and disappears. If you're lucky enough and you live in some place that's natural, like we who live at least in this part of Oregon, nature is so abundant. I saw a statistic yesterday in some news feed that roughly 60% of human beings have no longer any relationship with nature. You want to know why the world is dying? Because in a strange way, nature herself requires love in order to continue herself, just as our nature requires love, but we don't know where love is. We imagine it. We make stories about love instead of entering into the story itself. So we see everything appear and disappear. I have loved ones. Do you have loved ones who have disappeared? Where'd they go? I don't know. I make up stories. I comfort myself with stories. He's better off now than he was. He's gone to a better place. You don't know where he's gone, you hypocrite. If you actually believe that, you wouldn't be afraid of death, because what is death other than the absolute end of emptiness? Perfect emptiness, death. The darkness I can't see beyond. Oh, Jesus, I just learned I'm dying. Why do you think people are so full of fear when they learn they're going to die? And you will learn you're going to die. By the way, if you're lucky, you'll learn you're going to die instead of just disappearing. My mother always wished that she just popped off. She got her wish. She missed out. This sudden emptiness, this sudden darkness, where everything seems to disappear. But what is it that actually disappears in that moment? I'm asking you to look at this. I understand what I'm saying to you. What is it that disappears in that moment? If you don't relax, you're going to pop. It's usually Chris that's going to pop. What is it that actually disappears in this moment of pure darkness? What is it that disappears? Is it life that disappears? What disappears? Something I am identified with. That's what disappears. That's all that ever disappears. And in real life, identity doesn't disappear as it's supposed to without something new being born. But in this world that we live in this consciousness, the disappearance of tomorrow, of my future, of what I hope for, or of my life is filled with fear. Because I can't find I beyond the darkness. I can't find I beyond death. Do you understand what I mean? And because I can't find I in a true experiential way beyond death, beyond that darkness, what do? I invent a world where I will be. And usually the world I invent is full of fear, I might add, even though I believe I'm headed toward the glorious freedom. You're not headed anywhere. Who you are doesn't appear, it doesn't disappear. There's another order of being altogether from out of which we have come and from which this personality, whatever your name may be, has formulated all kinds of stories. You know, if we all had the same story, it wouldn't be a problem, would it? Would it? What do you argue with human beings? When you argue with somebody, what are you arguing with? Their story challenges my story. And when you challenge my story, suddenly my story may not be as real as I thought it was. Now I'm kind of looking at a moment of darkness, so I have to get together with you, and two people in the dark invent light, and then we get married. And you didn't hear a certain person in the audience who said, and then comes the real darkness. Haven't the most dark, empty moments of our life, where everything seemed to be the most bleak, haven't those moments been when suddenly it seems the loss of something is imminent, if not having taken place? Yes or no? But I know you can see this, and I ask you to remember it, at least to some extent. Hasn't it been out of those exact same moments when for a second, like Paul, you couldn't see past? You have what? What's going to happen to you? She what? But she's not supposed. In that moment where everything just stops. Does it really stop, or is there something in you that comes to a stop so it can have something to fight against and control, so that you, as you've imagined yourself, as you are identified with that person, property, or possession, so that you can go on? Is that not the case? Please, out loud.
Yes.
And the extraordinary thing is that were it not for the end of that, if were it not for that emptiness itself that I didn't want to go through, but that by the grace of God I got through it in some way, what on the other side of that emptiness took place? If I learned anything from it at all, what did I learn? If I went through it at all, was it really emptiness? Or was it the beginning of another kind of understanding? So that as the emptiness went through its flowering, lo and behold, a new understanding was being born. Yes or no? That is what rebirth is in scale. And thank God for God, because we are gradually. Purgatory is preparation for rebirth. Because what is purgatory other than being cleansed? Of what? Of this self that exists to serve itself, and in doing so creates light that it can follow, and then finds the light wasn't light at all, finds itself in the darkness, and then just invents light again. And one day you just don't do it anymore. You just stop talking to yourself. You stop believing in your own. My mother, I just realized my mother used to say that. She just called me a straight out liar. She says, you love to make up stories, don't you? Little did she know. Storytellers. How many of you know you tell yourself a story when it rains on your parade? And the story never has you as the problem, incidentally, does it? Were it not for the end of that sense of self, there would never be the realization of another order of self. True or not? Yes. Now see, this is why we have these talks. We meet like this, wherever you are in the world, because how amazing is it that I forget just like that, when they've done this or she said that or it doesn't unfold the way it's supposed to, in that moment, there's no lesson here. The lesson is you're an idiot. The lesson is it shouldn't be this way. The lesson is, how am I going to get past? Isn't the lesson to us, how do I get past this moment? And that's what we call a real human being who gets past these moments, who turns lemons into lemonade. Dealing with disappointment has its place in this world. In terms of understanding, it is possible to transcend the understanding that created the unwanted moment. But creating wanted moments doesn't get rid of the nature that is always not wanting life when it challenges what it's created. Do you understand? Yeah. So I want to help you see something, that when something ends, what we fear is not the loss. Not the loss of my brother, not the loss of my mother, my father, whom I love dearly, not the loss of Tessie, my favorite animal that ever walked the planet. And when my wife leaves, it won't be the fear of that loss. All fear of loss is connected to the fear of losing identity and nothing else. Nothing else. And what we can't see, because we don't see the whole of something, is that the very nature of fear is identification. So that when something I've identified suddenly is threatened, the only thing I know to do is to try to protect the conditions that I believe are responsible for who and what I think I am, what I have, where I'm going, all that I've done. Protect, protect, protect. And the very essence of the story. And what is any story? Who is the star of all your stories? Is it somebody else? Moi. C'est moi, I humbly agree. It's me. Camelot. So when something ends, we think it's the end of something when all that's happening is that something has come along and saying, without us hearing it, would you like to go through an understanding that unchains you instead of chaining yourself to yet another story, another hope in things seen? What did St. Paul mean by that? Hope in things seen. Hope in things seen, because the seer is now going to have what was seen, and then it will be a beautiful scene. The me that feels emptied out and tries to restore itself over and over again does so by what? How do I restore the feeling of being empty? Listen, through a new attachment. Not necessarily a thing or a possession. The new attachment doesn't exist without the me that's attached to it. So the way I deal with emptiness is to create another sense of myself that was born out of the fear of emptiness. So the self that's born is actually fear itself, if you can follow that. Can you? It makes a lot of sense when you start to seeing it. It's like drinking salt water to quench your thirst. One day you're going to have to ask yourself this, and you'll have to ask yourself in the truest meaning of it. You'll be sitting at home. I'm talking to everybody. I'm looking at you too. Well, you don't see. I have to look at myself while I'm talking. It's just like, eesh. You'll be sitting at home, and something will go wrong. Does that ever happen? And you will be mechanically prompted by that reaction to suddenly feel a sense of loss, even just knocking over a glass of coffee. All that time and effort, all that time and effort that went into making the perfect cup of coffee, gone. Not to mention the cost of the coffee and the cream and the milk. You don't think that's in there? I'm telling you it's in there. You have no idea what's inside of you. But by the way, it's not you that's inside of. It is this consciousness that occupies us and that we are so occupied with without understanding it. It's built into it. So in that sudden moment, all I know how to do is to find a way to get through whatever has descended upon me, my enemy. And so instead of finding the feast that is prepared in the presence of my enemies, I free myself by imagining a way to get rid of the enemy, of the problem, of the emptiness, and feel the momentary sense of what? Of I've got past this. What got past this? A new sense of self created out of the fear of the loss of the old sense of self, and I'm right back where I started from, not understanding the real nature of reincarnation, because that's what real reincarnation is. The psychological reappropriation of all these parts of ourselves into a new form that will be able to deal with the loss of freedom that we just feel we lost. You still following me? So how do we understand this gift of emptiness, this gift of silence, this gift of darkness? If you just even heard, even up to this point, halfway through the talk, do you think to yourself when that darkness comes, when you can't see past? By the way, and what is it that you can't see past? We said it was darkness. What is it? I can't see past my own reactions. But something that's reacting to that blindness says you must. And so I sit and struggle to see past the very nature that is blind and never suspect that that's the case. Are you seeing it? So what I'm saying is, what's the new mind, the metanoia? It's a new understanding of darkness. A new understanding that's evident all around us at all points in time, but that we can't see because we're too busy looking to make our story unfold the way we've imagined it should. I'm going to go into this. Take a deep breath. I'm going to show you something quite deep. In fact, let's just go home. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll pick it up then, okay? Nothing new can come until something old has passed, yes or no? From where comes what is new? Can't be out of the old thing itself. Someone says the unknown. Let's look at this. Nice deep breath. Beautiful Oregon. A tree. You can see the trees out the windows. These live oaks, scrub oaks, madrones, pines. We look at a tree and what do we see? Leaves that have to be raked up. We might see beauty. Many of us do. But our eyes stop so short of the prize. Because we see through a glass darkly. You look at a tree, and what you're really seeing is you have a set of roots that are in the ground in the dark, do you not? And then you see the canopy of the tree, which are also the roots of the tree, because they live in the darkness relative to the sun that feeds them. So you have roots above and roots below. Are you able to understand that? Can a tree live without the roots in the ground? And can a tree live without the roots that absorb the energy that come into it, that drive the whole circulation of that living organism that has its roots above and below at the same time? Yes or no? Yes. So its roots are always in the darkness. So are our roots. But not the darkness the tree fears, the darkness that nourishes the tree with all the elements it requires as it utilizes the energy from the other set of roots. I'm just trying to show you a big picture if you can see it with me. Can you see it? Yeah. And both are always reaching, aren't they? When darkness comes over you, what do you reach for? Do you reach for what has come in the darkness? Or do you reach for the light you imagine to get rid of the darkness you fear? You understand that, don't you? So a tree isn't just rooted A tree isn't just rooted, though, in two worlds. This is the part you have to really listen to. A tree is not just rooted in two worlds, what we'd call the earth and the sky. We just talked about that, yeah? The tree owes its very existence to a third invisible realm that we can't see, but that we can understand. And the invisible realm that it owes its existence to is where these opposing worlds meet. Where opposing forces, that which is active, the sunlight, and that which is passive, the tree and the roots, where those two worlds meet, out of the meeting of those forces is creation. And it isn't just the canopy that creates, it's not just the roots that create, is it? It's not the sunlight, it's not the earth. It is a marriage of them, and it is a marriage that takes place in a world that we cannot see with our eyes. See, one day you'll see this, not because you look at a tree, because you'll understand you're the tree of life itself. You'll be a participant, not just in the light that comes down where there's no rain on your parade, and not just the fear of the darkness that suddenly wants to consume you, but a participant in the union of those worlds. Because it is in the union of those worlds that that world and everything in it is reborn. How can a tree be reborn? A seed? How can any creature that comes, where does the new creation come out of? We don't know. We make up stories. But we can begin to understand whatever is new came out of what is old, but what is old is gone, and somewhere between new and old, there is an emptiness that they meet, and out of which comes a new creation. This is why Christ said you must lose your life to find it. Because our life is what we're identified with and ceaselessly trying to protect. Our life is our past and revisiting regrets, hoping to form a new reality in a time to come. Our life is a future. You never suffer more than when you imagine your future, but you don't know it because what you're imagining has something usually pleasurable connected to it, and in that pleasure, the fear that that pleasure won't come to pass. And the pleasure, the freedom will become the prison. Haven't you had enough of that yet? Go, no. Need a little more. Need to sit and suffer just a little more. Need to think a little more. Think a little, talk a little, think a little. It isn't enough yet. And don't you think to yourself, I can't take it anymore? Don't you all the time? And when you're thinking, I can't take it anymore, what are you looking at? Me. Not life. You're looking at what your understanding tells you is life. And I can't take it anymore because I don't see anything out there anymore. And believe me, the older you get, the less you see in your ahead of you. Why do you think people are so afraid? People say, I want to retire, I want to retire, I want to retire. And then here's two guys who said, boy, I thought you wanted to retire. I'm so miserable, I don't know what to do with myself. I go on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I do this. And on Mondays and whatever other day, I do this. And then I go out to eat on this day. And I don't know what the hell to do with myself. I think I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to invent another life for myself. You're not meant to invent life for yourself. You're meant to be a participant in a life that never stops unfolding from out of the very darkness and emptiness that you are the most afraid of. Are we communicating? And why are we communicating like this? So that maybe when that next time comes and you're sitting in your house and your mind says, do this, go there, make that list, that right in the middle of that, you think church bells. Right in the middle of that, church bells. Right in the middle of that, you understand that the moment is always given, and that what is given is always a new understanding of a holiness that we have yet to realize as our own. And you allow that moment to be what it is, perfectly dark. Perfectly dark. You don't strain. How many of you are, where's Barbara? Yeah. How many of you are fairly constantly tense? You want to know a good definition of tension? Move from Southern Oregon to Florida. Downsize a foundation. And not that I try to keep people happy, but try to help people understand the necessity of darkness, the necessity of the emptiness they blame on the circumstances around them instead of seeing the depth of their identification with something that's going to come to an end, and they should bless the moment that comes that helps them end their identification with it. So a tree lives in two worlds. You get it? The opposites. And why does the tree grow? Because it is forever taking into itself, into the darkness, into the light, that which transforms and makes a union of these forces into something that gives birth to what? Another revelation. Again, I'm entreating. I've never used that word in a talk in my whole life. I'm not going to use it now either. I'm entreating you. Can you see, will you agree with me to whatever level you're able to do so? You wouldn't be here if you haven't had some. You've all had epiphanies, have you not? Aha moments. Thank God. From where comes the revelation of anything? Oh, I see what I want you to see. From where comes the revelation of anything? When you had that epiphany, from where did it come? Do you understand that in order for there to be a revelation of anything at any level at all, there must be a union? Without something acting and something passive meeting, there is no revelation. Because what is active doing to what is passive? It is revealing the nature of what is passive to the world that is passing through. Is this too hard to understand? Do you understand this? You wouldn't see a tree if, by the grace of God, sunlight didn't come and work on the matter that is dark. All matter is dark. You may not know it, but all matter is dark. Dark matter pervades the universe. Most of the universe is now what scientists are calling dark matter. If it wasn't for dark matter, if it wasn't for the energy, there'd be nothing for you to see. So everything that you see because something acts on something passive. And out of that moment where these two forces meet, suddenly there's the revelation. Only for us, again, we're not alive yet. You don't know you're not alive yet. I know it's a stunning thing. Christ himself said it. But when you are alive, you don't see a tree. You see a relationship. You don't see the person that you blame. You see a relationship between the consciousness that carries the enmity, the conditions that create it, and everything that's involved in it. So that you are part of the relationship you see. And if the relationship is never not being reborn, guess who is never not being reborn through their life in the light that shows that? Can you see this? So revelation comes out of the darkness. Everything was dark and suddenly there was light. But there would be no light if it weren't coming out of something that reveals it as it comes forth. And in the scale of things, in the physical level, yes, that's true. But spiritually speaking, it's never not taking place. And if it's true there, can you see it? The tree grows because a silent, unseen law brings these two forces together. What is active and what is passive? Does the root draw to itself that which it needs? Well, kinda. Does the canopy draw to itself that which it needs? Kinda. Well, does the sun kind of need the roots and the canopy in order to reveal the roots and the canopy and the goodness of its light? It's all part of a relationship. That's exactly what we are. We live from a consciousness that is, in scale, that union that I'm describing to you. But we're a participant, at least meant to be a participant in the unification of the will of heaven and the will of earth. When that which is heavenly and timeless, when that which cannot be avoided, here comes something I can't avoid. My brother died, my favorite animal. Someone has betrayed me. You ever feel betrayed? Yeah. Someone betrayed me. What's the darkness in that sense of betrayal? The darkness is that I was identified with you as being a part of what was going to carry on whatever the plan was. You don't know you were a part of it, and then you betrayed me. All of a sudden, darkness descends upon me. I'm on the road to Damascus. And by the way, did you know the original, the Aramaic word Damascus, what it means? Purification. On the road to being clarified. So here it comes. And what do? No. And the reaction of resistance cannot be separated from the reaction to what this mind says has happened to it. And what it says has happened to it is that something has stopped it. Something has said no to it. And you don't say no to me. Do you fight with life? Do you? When you fight with life, you don't think to yourself, you're saying to God, put him up. Do you think that to yourself? Babs? No. Put him up. Why? Because I need to win. And what is it that I need to win? What is it that I need to win? I need to win a freedom that was suddenly taken from me. So I believe that freedom is mine. It's my freedom. I earned my freedom. Oh, Jesus. I earned my freedom. I know most of you don't like this. I don't care. You've earned nothing. You have a nice home, good job. You suffered to make a place for yourself, clothes, organic food, all that stuff. No one's saying anything's wrong with that. But if you think you earned it, then when everything comes to a stop, go earn it again. And at some point, you're going to say to yourself, I'm so tired of earning. I'm so tired of earning my freedom, of earning the respect of others. You can't get respect from others because no one respects themselves. And one day you say, I'm not going to fight with this anymore. I'm going to be somebody who understands that there is an intended revelation in the moment where everything seems the darkest. Because the more dark it seems, that means the deeper was the identification, doesn't it? Yes. If you've been following me, yes or no? Yes. You don't have a dark moment that isn't born out of being dependent on something you're attached to. So now the darkness is not heralding the end of my life. It's heralding the possibility of me understanding something about this nature that I never understood before. Do you see what we're doing? We're changing our mind. Now, this is intellectual. We meet here, the energy's great, and we see, you know what, I really do probably need a new way to think about this stuff, because the old way I think about it, I'm sinking in that thinking, yes? So suddenly I'm listening here, and here comes, I leave here, I'm in my car, and I get a message. Everything that I had planned went to hell in a handbasket, and the next thing I know, I'm in the flames. And I realize, wait a minute, what's the nature of these flames? What's the nature of my anger and blame? Well, I always thought it's because of you, and if I could control you or change that or go back into the past, get a time machine of some kind, I hope they make one soon, that I'd be free of my torment. But I've never been free of my torment. Even when I don't see it, it's there. I don't see it because I'm looking at something else, and I'm deriving a sense of self from something else that I'm looking at, failing to see that my attachment to what I'm looking at is yet another identity, and because by the grace of God, he wants to have us sell all, lose our life to find his life, everything shows up time and time again. We call it karma, justice. Not bad, good. Not dark, the herald of light. Within the darkness dwells the light. The darkness does not comprehend it. I go through all of this. I keep coming back to Scripture without even knowing I'm coming back to it, because it's all written. But where is it written? Not in that book, and not in some belief in a book, but in the living realization that this is what my life is intended to be. The realization that you and I, our true nature, isn't these opposites the way we experience them, but rather we are created as an intentional bridge where the opposites are already put together, where emptiness and fullness exist at the same time, where light and darkness are not in conflict, but rather are complementary to each other, because in their marriage, look, can light marry itself to darkness? Can fullness marry itself to emptiness? Can it? It's impossible, because they belong to a set of laws that in this world are separate. But there's another world where they're not separate. And where is that world? Where is the kingdom of heaven, where they are not separated, but rather something is constantly being given new birth? Where is that world? Where is that world? Within. Within what? Now. Not then, not later. But for us, now is darkness. Isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I even start to think about now, and my eyes roll in the back of my head. And then when I learn that to be in the now is to agree to be, if you will, the ground of the crucible of where these energies meet, and where there's no future and no past because it's timeless. I don't exist without time. I don't know if I get through. I don't exist without time. Tomorrow, do you think you'd get a Broadway show? I've been on stage 3. Tomorrow, there's always tomorrow. Make the world go away. And the phenomena is, by the grace of God, that it's our gradual recognition that it is we who create psychological time by identifying with a mind trapped in division that is not the solution to the darkness or the emptiness, but its perpetuation. So it's the awareness of that relationship and what is done in our spiritual sleep that awakens us and that gives us the courage, if you will, to go through what must take place. I was thinking about, how many of you know that, what is that, the story of the phoenix? Yes? Where did the phoenix come from? The old. What was the emptiness, the darkness, the nothingness? From where rises the Christ? You say, from my love of him. No, if you loved Christ, you'd already understand what I'm saying, because I'm describing Christ's life. I'm describing the life of a living light, of a divine love, if you don't like the word Christ, that is forever giving itself up. Giving itself up for what? So that it can be revealed as endless, so that love can be understood as something that never stops flowering because it comes out of this darkness, this emptiness that you and I avoid at all costs. And where for the avoidance of these moments that we don't want, we are avoiding the purpose of our very existence. Are you able to see this with me?
Yes.
So is there a kind of exercise in this? It's one of my favorite 3 words. I've been saying them since the beginning of time. Wait and see. Wait and see. You can't wait, can you? And what is it that you can't wait for? More torment. See it? I can't wait. I must act. What must act? That identification that fears it's about to disappear because the conditions are going away, and now I have to get back in and mess with everything to get everything to be copacetic so I can go on as I've imagined myself to be. Wait and see. What does it mean, wait and see? Wait and be. Wait and be what you are. What was the lesson from last Sunday? I have no desire other than to be what I am, where I am, as I am. When you have that desire only, you will be aligned with God's desire, which is that you are meant to be an instrument on this planet between the light and the darkness, between what is timeless and what is in time, so that out of that union can come the revelation, and I know how this sounds, the revelation of the beauty of God, the revelation of the beauty of the divine, the revelation of the beauty of ceaseless union, the revelation of that which is never not glorifying itself through its own creations that you and I as a creation are intended to know as ourselves. Let's take a break, quick break, have some announcements. We'll come back and have our Q&A session.
Well, hello, everyone. While we stretch our legs just for a minute or two, those students in the room and those of you invited to get up and take a break just for a minute, I'll share 2 or 3 announcements with you just to make sure you're up to date on several things. First of all, just a regular announcement that we do invite you to help us in our mission of sharing this work of guys with all of those people around the world who might be interested. As Guy talked about, we're making a transition from a kind of a brick and mortar institution to a much greater online presence so that we can touch many and reach many more people. And we can only do that with the help of others. And so we are grateful for the help that many of you already provide and invite others to do the same. We are a nonprofit organization, and you can go to guyfinley.org/donate if you're interested. And there you'll find a number of ways in which you can help us with either regular donations or one-time donations, or even ways in which you can help the work that don't cost you a penny. So again, thank you for your continued help in that work. We also want to remind you that even though this is a period of transition, you can always stay in contact with us and in touch with the latest news at the foundation. We publish a free weekly newsletter that you're invited to subscribe to. That newsletter is one which comes out once a week, and it comes out and it not only includes news and upcoming announcements about special events related to Guys Talks or the foundation, but it also includes material like inspirational quotes, excerpts from articles, and special offers. So it's a great way to stay connected to the foundation, and you can do so again for free. Just go to guyfinley.org/newsletter, and that will get you subscribed and signed up for that. And then the last thing I thought I'd share with you is, again, as I have said many times, we have a very, very active presence online in just about every social media platform there is. And one of the latest platforms that Guy's work has been appearing on his Substack for the last year. Guy and I and others have been sharing Guy's work on Substack. It is kind of a newsletter forum, and many of the work that we share there are writings from Guy, exercises that he has given, and special writings and excerpts from articles that don't normally show up in other places that we share Guy's work. So I invite you to take a look at his Substack account. If you're interested, it's free as well to subscribe. Just go to guyfinley.org/Substack, and that will take you to that page. And you can take a look at it and see what's there and perhaps follow along with Guy there as well. So there are 3 short announcements as we all had a chance to take a break. Guy, are you ready to get started with our Q&A session, or do you have anything else you'd like to say first?
I'm just kind of looking around, and in our new digs here, no one has called everybody in. Wayne, please go do so. We'll just wait a split second here, John, and then we'll get going. If you would all please take your seats, those of you in the room, bring an end to your conversations. Be awake to your environment.
All right. While we're waiting for that, let me just make sure our online audience, our online students know that in our discussion, which we're about to begin, you are welcome to participate. For those of you who are on GoToWebinar with us, you can actually speak directly to Guy. Just click the hand icon that you'll see on your console, and that'll put you into a queue that I'll see, and then I'll unmute you, and then you unmute yourself, and you can talk directly to Guy. And those of you on Facebook and YouTube, you can send in written questions, and Kate is always relaying those to me as they come in. And so that's how we'll kind of conduct our discussion when Guy's ready to go.
I think we can get started. I would ask everybody again to please take your seats.
All right.
No, John. No, John. No, John.
Okay.
Here's two people that are walking down the street. Happens quite often, and they get mugged. Do you know why they got mugged? Because they didn't see it coming. Neither do you see it coming when you're talking to yourself. You're being mugged while you talk to yourself, but you don't see it. And why do I talk to myself? How many of you talk? You don't have to raise your hand. I mean, good God. What's going on? I'm going to help you understand it. You know why you talk to yourself? Because if you don't keep telling yourself the story, you're going to find yourself in darkness. So what's the exercise? It's not to try to stop talking. It's to try to see that there's no such thing as compulsive pleasure. And if I'm talking to myself compulsively, which I am, I'm doing so that I find peace in the conversation, but the very conversation and the nature engaged in it is at war with itself, which is why it keeps talking. So John, with that happy note.
With that happy note, we shall begin, Guy.
And I remind students, if you want to come up and ask questions or talk, the chair is open. All right, John.
All right. Fiona has raised her hand in our queue, Guy. So let's start by going to Fiona.
All right.
Hello, Fiona.
Hello, John. Hello, Guy.
Fiona.
Well, this talk was one of those ones where I felt like I was literally in the dark, but in a mind full of gold. There was so much, so many gems. I could talk a lot about that beautiful creativity on active and passive, and where we are, even in the body. It doesn't anything at all in nature, as you know, same laws.
Yes.
But that's in a time, of course, so that's on that level of time. But evolves from timelessness. And anyway, I could talk about that for hours, but I want to always make it practical and what's going on. And there has been an awful lot of talking, an awful lot of conflict in this consciousness. And I remember you saying that the worst perpetrator or your kind of worst enemy, you'll thank in time to come, because it's really everything that you need. For many years, really, I've recently in the years of my work, I've seen a nature that is, when I look at myself, it's like there's a nature I can see, there's been a lot of anger, there's been a lot of everything, and I've wanted it to come out, but you can't make it come out. Anyway, had a great opportunity when I was, in a family situation where it just really hit way back, decades. And so it was exactly what I needed, but it was so hard. It was torturous. And I normally talk to myself and do something about it and try and explain what is going on. But none of that, there was some of it, obviously, but I could actually not keep really calm, and I could keep this just waiting to see. And it's been fantastic revelations, which can't really put into words, but just amazing, knowing that this
I understand.
character...
I understand.
You got it.
Let me stop you and encourage you as we enlarge what it is that you're describing, so that everybody can have get a toe in that water. So were you able to hear basically what she was saying? Well, essentially, pretty much for all of us, it's kind of a recurring story, whether it's in the past or the present moment. There's a family, there's a relationship, there's conflict, and as a rule, that conflict brings up conflict. A lot of anger I didn't know was down there. Suddenly there it is. But I thought to myself, in quotes, I was helped to remember that I would do something a little bit different this time around. And it wasn't that I was able to actually do anything different, but I was able to wait a little bit and see what was going on as a result of even the attempt to not answer anger with anger, darkness with darkness. Everybody got it now? So here's what comes to mind, Fiona, because everything is in levels and scale. Do you remember ever feeling trapped as a kid? You wanted to go out, but you couldn't go out without your brother or mother or somebody. So you never really got to go out and just be alone out, whatever you were doing. And then one day they say, go on. And you go, and then you see somebody go by on a bicycle. You're in the yard. Bicycle. If only I could have a bicycle, because then I wouldn't be trapped in the yard that I was free in a moment before. And then you see a bicycle, and you get a bicycle. Oh, this is it. And then you see somebody go by with a cute girl in a car. If only I could, I remember that for me, born and raised the way I was, I can't wait till I'm 21 so I can sit at a bar and talk to cute ladies. Yeah, just let me be old enough to drink. Do you remember any of this? For men, am I getting a mustache? Has it started? Just always the next world that wasn't in time but was waiting within you to be revealed as a part of yourself in a timeless world. We see it in passage of time. But what am I exploring? I'm exploring another order of myself that I didn't know was there. And that's all that Fiona is saying, is that suddenly I was able to explore a world that I didn't even know could exist until I stopped doing what I've always done in the old world, and coming to the end of the effort to escape the darkness of anger, Anger doesn't exist without resistance, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly, I have a new kind of life. I'll say it in real terms. Suddenly, I have a life. I didn't know there was a life that wasn't predicated on a reaction and trying to resolve my problems through some kind of control or anger. Life revealed something new, and where did it reveal it? In me, which means within me is all of the unexplored territory of God's life. And that's the adventure. That's what purgatory is relieving you and releasing you from going on the same ride that you demand remains in place, because you one day see, I can't go on that ride anymore. I don't want it anymore. But there I am in line paying for an e-ticket. Right, Leah? Yeah. That's it. And so Fiona had a taste of life. A taste of light. Because light is life. Good Leona. Good Fiona. Keep going.
Absolutely will. Absolutely. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there really is no other way. And we're not describing a way. We're describing a willingness to see. On we go.
John, we have a written question that came in, Guy, from Jordan, and I'll share that with everyone. Jordan asks, how do I live from presence without turning it into a constant self-monitoring that pulls me out of the moment?
How do I live from presence? How can I be mindful? How can I practice the presence of the divine? How can I love God without turning it into a constant self-monitoring that pulls me out of the moment? Who wants to answer the question for Jordan? Deborah. No, come up here. Post haste. Leave your shoes where they are. Oh, you had an opportunity. No, don't take them off now. Oh, good God. All right, come sit.
I didn't know I was going to be on.
Now you're on.
Hi, I'm Deborah. So,
here's the question. How do I live from presence without turning it into a constant self-monitoring that pulls me out of the moment?
I don't think you're ever in the presence if something is pulling you out of it. Real presence is being there now.
Is the awareness that something's pulling on me.
Yeah, there you go. That's even better.
Thank you.
Can I go now? Okay, we're all good.
Leave your shoes here. So that actually is the answer. But darn, it's not satisfying. I'm getting an impression that I want to share with you, but I want to make sure it's intelligible enough. You can only speak for yourself, but I believe that when I say what I do, I am speaking not just for yourself, in quote, or myself, but for this mistaken self that we have mistaken ourselves as being, born into this world as we are and conditioned the way that we are, and come into this world in a nature that has fallen, something that only knows itself through something else. That's what a fallen nature is. I am other than what I see. I am other than what I experience. That's what to be divided is. That's motion, that's time, that's all of that. So here I am, and I'll speak for myself. By the grace of God, I can say this freely. All my life, it was always I wanted to be something else. And whatever it was that I wanted to be, I wanted it to be special. And was I alone in this? I want to be respected. I want to be at peace. I want to be someone who has the things that I didn't have because my family was this way and their family was that way. I want to be someone who doesn't have an enemy. I want to be someone who's like Christ. I want to be someone who can change the world. What did I miss? Did I miss any of the I wannabes? Did I? I don't think so. And that nature is tortured because it believes it already isn't all that it is meant to be. When you wake up, your awakening will be the gradual realization that you no longer want to be anyone or anything other than what you are in the moment. That's all that you will want. And when all you want is to be that relationship of the moment, there's no longer a you wanting anything from the moment. You are the revelation itself. You are the light of that moment. You are the darkness that is revealed in it, and you are what is reborn in that moment. And then you are what God intended you to be. This life that exists between what is heavenly and timeless and what is in time and physical. And you're not just that, and you're not just this. This is why so-called Satan was so upset. This is why the angels so-called envy human beings. Because a human being can only come into that and through that through the surrender of a will that God gave them. God didn't give the angels will of their own. They made the angels serve his will, its will of creation. Creation had to be the way that it is. It is an unceaseless folding of opposites. You and I are the opposites embodied, but we are also that which can give up the identification with those opposites and understand ourselves as something that doesn't need to want to be anything at all. Because what more can you be than here with God, with the presence? That's it, John.
All right, Guy, I just got a written question from Isabella that I'll share with you. Isabella asks, I am truly at an end. I've been doing inner work for years. I've stopped fighting with how life presents itself, even if I don't understand it. I am open to meeting the death of the old that no longer serves me, but in this case, I feel as if I'm holding up a house of cards. What am I supposed to do when the fear ahead is of homelessness? I've already lost everything that holds a meaning for me. I even tore my meniscus a few weeks ago and have no way to afford treatment. I get the concept of walking through the valley of the shadow of death, the dark night, or whatever it is, but I can't just stop. I can't not work. I feel like life is stopping me. How do I get to another level, another order of being? I am looking down a dark chasm and still trying not to have fear.
Everybody heard the question.
Yeah.
Can something be true, really be true just part of the time?
No.
Or if something's true, is it true?
It's true.
So the world, including Isabella, because of what her mind sees, would say, well, gee, that's pretty bleak, Isabella. Wouldn't you? Yeah. And so I look out at this world, and it's hard to walk. I might lose my home. I might be a homeless person. I'm filled with the disdain for the very thing that I sat in judgment of my whole life. My future, as whatever it was, has evaporated, and all I can see ahead is somewhere, maybe a tent or living in a car, whatever it might be. And then she says, but I can't just stop working. So first I addressed the first part. Well, who said to stop working? The world of imagination is filled with what is positive, and the world of imagination that it comes up with positive things suffers the endless fear that what it has imagined won't come to pass. I have a saying, Isabella. I don't know if you've ever heard it before, but you could write it down if you want. It might help you after I'm done talking with you. Something that I used for years and still do. Because the mind never stops talking. Never stops telling you, you've lost power here. They've taken this from you. Whatever it is, you're going to be, this, look, oh my God, look at this. Did you hear what the doctor said? Yeah, I heard it. And my solution is, I hate life. All this that I did for that? How unfair can God be? And then you get people around you who tell you the same thing. And you listen like an idiot. Believing that because someone wants to write a chapter to your story that supports the character you played, that it proves the character you played is who you are and you deserve better. Isabella, do what is in your power and refuse to do what's not. Do what is in your power and refuse to do what's not. And when you do what's in your power, by God, do it with everything you've got. So if what's in my power is to go get a job so that I can feed myself and keep some kind of roof over my head, don't give a damn about what that job is. Just go get it and do it. And don't let your mind tell you, well, if I do this, then that's what it means. And don't let your mind tell you that down that road, all there is darkness. You haven't been down that road. Your mind creates the road that's dark so you can live in fear of what your mind projects. And refuse to do what's not in my power to see past the moment I'm in. To do anything more than I'm given to do in the moment as I'm given to do it. It's not given to me to drop these thoughts because I'm too identified with them, but I can do what's in my power, which is to watch the thoughts that are tormenting me. Now I know something I didn't know before, so instead of exhausting myself in resistance to what I imagined is coming, and maybe she's saying, look, I'm not imagining this is coming. She's saying, it has come. What has come? This moment. Do what's in your power, refuse to do what's not. And that's not enough for me. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Why isn't it enough for me? Because I want freedom. I don't want what I don't. See, at some point, Isabella, all of you, at some point, you're not there yet. You're going to have to actually struggle between what you think is good and true and the part of you that is showing you that what you think and good is true is not. You're actually going to have to struggle with that. Let's see. Is God good? Yes. Is Christ love? Yeah. Well, would God, with this intelligence of Buddha, would it set me up for a big fall? Or is it always perfecting itself? Always bringing about a new revelation of something that when it's received, I'm realized in a new way. Is that not what life is? And you and I, unless we're stone deaf and blind, have to say, yeah, that's what life is. Yes or no out loud? Yes. Why am I afraid? Because something else steps in and says, yeah, but. Yeah, but. Or as the North American Indians used to go, what the hey? I'm not making light of this. I'm trying to bring light into it, Isabella. She sees the death of herself. Yes or no? As imagined. As imagined. The death of yourself is to imagination, is to the imagined self. And that's what these conditions, by the grace of God, create for those of us who are willing to use them that way. Viktor Frankl. What could be a darker world than being in a concentration camp surrounded by 10,000 men and women who are not just dying of starvation, but who are being tortured, who haven't the clothes to keep themselves warm. And what happens to Viktor Frankl? He's illuminated. He becomes a source of light and love and life for everyone around him. Did he become that? He'd be the first to tell you, no, not I became that. But if you want Christ and I, the truth and I suddenly came, and it was inflamed and turned all of this darkness into something that could be used. There is coming a moment, not Isabella, not the one that you see, as dark as it may seem. Every last one of us, again, are going to have a moment where we learn we're going to die. It's part of life. Learning you're going to die is part of life. But I don't want that part of life. I want a life without death. And how do I come to a life without death? You tell me, everybody. How do I come to that? I write a story. But at some point I run out of ink. The thing gets dried up. The paper goes bad. I can't even believe my own story anymore. Have you gotten that at all? Have you ever started talking to yourself and you realize, well, I wrote that one. And with that, I'll bring on Tony.
Good morning. My name is Tony. Well, this is.
Speak up, Tony.
Okay. Throughout this, can you hear me back there?
Well, if you speak up,
Okay.
they can.
Throughout the talk, I kept having all these different kind of impressions and things.
Sit up.
Sit up. Coming in. One of them was we have some property, and so we have to tend to it. You know, we have to mow it and do all these things. And one of the things that I enjoy is gardening, planting things, but usually flowers, not so much food and stuff like that. And the other day I was out mowing. I've got to mow. I've got to get all these weeds that are growing and stuff like that. And as I was mowing, I noticed the bees and I'm not talking these yellow jacket things, and the wasps. I don't like those, but I noticed the bees were like flying all over the place and landing on all these little plants that I'm mowing. So I spent an enormous amount of time mowing all these things out of the way, and then planting other things that I think should be there. Other rose bushes and flowers and whatnot. And it just came to me that Tony sets out to create his world the way he wants it.
As he has identified with what
yes.
will make him the penultimate.
Yeah. I'm the ruler of my destiny here. Yeah. And yet I'm mowing over life itself, right? Because
it's a good metaphor.
Yeah, I'm life. And if you watch bees, I want you to know it. I'm not talking yellow jackets because they move fast. And
we got that part, Tony.
Right, okay, but they fly around very gently. There's no aggression in them, really naturally. And but it came to me. I stopped mowing. I realized, okay, this is my life. This is what Tony does. I'm constantly acting against the natural flow of life itself in an effort to create this thing in me, to create things in what I think is a better way of doing it, of the way it should be to please this identity that I have, And then you mentioned something else in this. So that was one thing that hit me. And it was a great moment, actually, for me. But you mentioned something else. You mentioned how we identify with different things. And if you're a grandparent, I immediately understood what you said this morning. It's like something happens and we identify with it. Well, this is the first time ever that I've been able to really understand what that means. Because if my grandkids walk into the room I go, baby, or hello, there's something in me that is brought up. That grandchild brings up a completely different Tony, and no one else can do that. And each one of those grandkids brings up a different self here.
Correct.
So those things, today, sitting here listening to you, I realize how often that happens. I mean, we talk about it all the time here in class. I mean, we talk about the selves and we identify, but to really see it, to see that, is a completely different, different understanding.
Belongs to a different world within Tony, and now you're gaining some insight. There's nothing wrong, they've proven that, like the dogs like it when you talk in a higher pitch. They just like it. That certain tones, certain animals recognize. I talk to Tata in one tone, Tammy in another, little dog in another. Every animal you have a relationship with. It has a vibration, you do, and you find something between it. Same with grandchildren, speaking of little animals.
And there was just one last thing I wanted to say.
Briefly,
Yes,
T.
briefly. I've always loved the universe and stuff like that, and I've always wanted to feel like I have a handle on this work. I get it. I know exactly what it is. And the other night, I had a moment where I'm looking out at the universe. I'm seeing all these stars. It was really dark, and it hit me that trying to really understand what this work is like looking out at the universe and seeing all of those billions of stars and everything, and thinking, okay, I'm going to get a handle on this. This work is it's just life itself. It just keeps on. It's never ending. It just keeps on expanding and expanding and expanding. That's it.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Back over to me, Guy, or are you?
No, I'm waiting on you now.
All right, Guy. Well, I've got a comment and question from Rebecca that came in. She says, I feel there's a place where the marriage happens. I also feel this lower consciousness making practical life a struggle. So many don't wants and fear of shoes dropping, for example, retirement planning and constant workday anxiety and maintaining the house. I think these struggles are indicative of strong attachments. Is that right? I feel like I have one toxic stronghold foot in this physical world and one in the timeless realm. I guess this is just the valley of dark shadows. This feels in the same general flavor as what Fiona was talking about.
Well, I think that if we were able to see properly, we would realize we're all saying the same thing relative to our experience and the place that we were plopped down in this world, what we came into this world with. So, Rebecca, I hate to resort to something familiar. As a rule, I try never to say the same thing in the same way. But you know the story. Here's a monk, goes to the master. He says, all I do is chop wood and carry water. What's it going to be like when I wake up? You'll chop wood and carry water. Only it won't be you doing it anymore. You'll still be there. You might even hear yourself saying, damn, I'm still chopping wood and carrying water, because you get caught in some thought. Everything about this nature, because it is divided, is forever looking for a way to rob Peter to pay Paul. But when Peter and Paul are seen to be the same, then you're done with trying to take from this world. That's all we know to do, is to try to take from this world. And the thing is, you don't take anything from this world, really. What you take is a swallow of something that you imagine, identify with, and then become attached to. That's what you take, is more attachment, not the thing itself. If you were taking the thing itself, you'd be done. And then, for you to see, God willing, you start to understand, I've been so mistaken. This world doesn't owe me anything. I owe everything myself. Everything I owe, including carrying wood and chopping water. I owe it to the moment. I owe it to that which has given me this moment, but not given me this moment so that I have to fear tomorrow or hate chopping wood and carrying water, so that I can see the nature that believes it's owed something and die to it, and in dying to it, being given what I've always been given from the beginning, which is the realization that me who fears, hates water and chopping and blah, 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 was never I to begin with. Never I. That's what dying to yourself is. You don't die to yourself. What you see is that there's something that needs to be died to? Yeah. Given up, sold. Unless there's someone in the queue who wants to talk. Are you coming up here? Are you leaning? You rocking in your chair? What are you doing? Okay, never mind, John. Too late.
All right.
We've got Leah.
We have no other. We have.
Oh, good. Leah will wrap it up. This better be pretty good, by the way.
Hi, my name is Leah.
Loud.
Hi, my name is Leah. You brought it all together with the chopping wood. When there's an I involved, I chop wood, I carry water.
And I'm not supposed to.
I want
I'm
to
supposed
be
to be able to
special.
hire people to do
all
that.
the things you said.
Yeah.
I want to be special. I want to be important. The I is pride and ambition. That's the hold. As soon as Leah places an I in it, real I is gone. Pride and ambition, wanting, and the word that kept coming up in this talk for me was conclusions. There's a conclusion to each moment. This nature wants an immediate conclusion. Now that it has the conclusion, it can go off into seeking the next thing to be the e-ticket. It can go find the e-ticket to grab onto and off to the next race.
Yep, by golly.
It's just so good. This is a beautiful talk. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all we have, Guy. No, no hands in the queue and no further written questions.
No, but I will say this last thing, John, then I'm going to do what Kate tells me to do. There is no tension without demand, which means there's no anger without it, which means there's no judgment without it. You can hear that, like Tony was saying, till the cows come home. Speaking of mowing. And then one day you're aware of the fact that, why in the name of God am I arguing? If not outwardly, inwardly. What? How many times have I argued? How many times do I pick on people? What's this control freak inside of me? I'm describing to you what the control freak is. It's the nature that arrived at a conclusion within which it found an identity, and that any conditions that challenge the conclusion are its enemy that it has to control. And anger is the way that it does that. Impatience is the way it pounces on those moments to make them into something positive. And nothing can happen but the repetition and ultimately the ruination of the soul that is so deceived to not know better. And with that, Kate, I'm going to do something. Tell me.
Go ahead and hit that live button again and it'll turn it off. Thanks, Guy.
Okay.